All right, people. Review of the week time. So, a lot to get into, a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. I think we need to start with. Obviously, this weekend has been a hectic weekend in terms of boxing. I mean, there has been boxing from Friday straight through to the early hours of this morning, really. So, we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to digest. I've probably not even scratched the surface of the amount of fights that have been on. Like, I know I seen the knockout from Janibek's fight last night. Looked a really good knockout, to be fair. Although the opponent got back up to his feet, the referee stopped it. I also heard, well, I didn't see the fight, but I heard Bakadir Jalilov went the distance for the first time. He had his guy down in one of the rounds, but a lot of people were saying that he didn't look too impressive. And some people are saying ring rust, but he's been competing, just not in pro boxing, but he has been competing at a very high level in the amateurs over the last, well, not even a year ago. So it's a bit of a worry for Bakadir Jalilov. There was and I want to I'll save the GBM show before we get into the Queensbury show, because that was a very good show on Friday. And I have to say, I'll talk more about that now in a sec. I did have a look at Tszyu's fight this morning against, I think his name was Joey Spencer. I didn't do a review of it, but I did watch it. And yeah, look, Tszyu was in there against the guy who was somewhat limited, very limited, and Tszyu just went and put a beating on him. He actually lost the first round. The first round was quite uneventful. I thought Tszyu lost it, but he needed a confidence builder. He definitely did, and he definitely got that. He stopped him. He never went down. Joey Spencer, but he shifted some big shots in there. I'm pretty sure he didn't go down. I watched it this morning. I'm pretty sure he didn't. I know the corner did throw in the towel. I'm pretty sure he didn't touch down. But coming the fourth round, he was shifting some heavy artillery from Tszyu. So he gets back to winning ways. I think that was in Newcastle in Australia, is where the commentators were saying it was. So you would imagine for Tszyu next, it's going to be Keith Thurman, because Keith Thurman just fought in Australia. He was actually, do you know what? It was meant to be Keith Thurman versus Tszyu last year when Tszyu fought Fundora instead. So, and I always said, like, going into that fight, I was like, although I fancy Tszyu to win the fight, and he started off very well in that fight, Tszyu. The cut really didn't help him. But you're going from Keith Thurman, 5'7", career welterweight, to a 6'5". It's a big difference. Like, I can't emphasize that enough, how much of a change it is on a short period of time. So Tszyu, and then when he fought Murtazaliev, I mean, that was really something. That was really something. So he needed a comeback win. He needed to look good again. I thought he looked all right. He's at the world of light, but he looked all right. In terms of Richard Torres, that Guido Vianello guy, I mean, that guy can't fight up close at all to save his life. But Richard Torres, I don't think I've done a review of any of his fights yet. And I have seen a couple of his fights. A lot of people were telling me, I don't think he's going to go far, this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, he's only young. He's only a kid. He's only in his early 20s. I think he's about, 24, 25. So you can develop, you can improve, but someone was saying that, and this is kind of where the American, well, realistically, the American kind of boxing scene, I'm going to say probably since the 90s, has been very thin on the ground, Chris Bird, Jamil McCline, people like Hasim Rahman, John Ruiz, they were the kind of guys in the 2000s. They weren't amazing. You had Wilder spearheading the 2010s, and we all know Wilder, big puncher, tremendous puncher, but quite limited. Chris Arreola, people like that. There was no one really there. And now you could probably say Jarrell Miller is the best US-based heavyweight now. Because some people were saying it could be Richard Torres. It's like, people, that's not a good thing if Richard Torres, no disrespect, but I don't know how high his ceiling's going to be. He can improve, but he's not setting the world alight right this very minute. So there was that fight. Let's talk about the GBM show that happened on Friday. I like to get all the boxing out of the way first, and all the boxing that I've seen over the weekend. The GBM show, I cannot emphasize enough how much praise Izzy As If is the promoter behind GBM deserves, because he started GBM about 2 years ago. I think they were actually on TalkSport originally, streaming to YouTube. And I'll be the first one to say they put on some of the best shows domestically I've seen. They're getting better and better and better. GBM are putting on more shows. Apparently there's going to be a show in Galway on the west coast of Ireland on June the 27th, I believe is when it's going to be. Don't know who's going to be on it, and I'm going to talk about that now in a wee bit as well. I think that his shows are just brilliant, and I think that he's with the Zone now, and that's another reason to subscribe to the Zone on screen just there. Cheap plug, what can I say? We're running that deal until April the 7th. But I think his shows in general are just phenomenal. They really are. They're very good. There's normally a lot of 50-50s. And I got a chance to see Hughie Fury in there against Dan Garber. It was meant to be Shackett Pierce, I think his name is. I think he fought Craig Richards a couple of years ago. He was meant to be in the main event. He got pulled for medical reasons, apparently. And then Bradley Ree stepped in on 3 days' notice. And then the opponent pulled out 3 hours before the fight was in the York Hall in Bethnal Green in East London. So a bit of an unfortunate show, but it was still a good show nonetheless. I saw Hughie Fury versus Dan Garber. Apparently Hughie Fury injured his right hand in training, but proceeded to go ahead with the fight. You can do that against someone like a Dan Garber. He's very limited. Hughie Fury, he got the stoppage. He's sitting on his shots a little bit more now as Hughie Fury, but I don't know. I mean, they're promising him a big fight the end of June, and I'll talk more on as who I think that will be. But credit to GBM, credit to Uzi as if he has been doing great work, and I expect more big things to come from him. I expect a lot more big things to come from him. I think he's doing a phenomenal job over there at GBM, so I tip my hat off to you, good sir. Let's talk about the main show, Queensberry, that happened last night. This was Queensberry's first show on the Zone, and I'm going to timestamp Queensberry's show specifically. Let's talk about it. So, there was a lot of fights on the undercard. There was a lot to talk about. We'll start with Delicious. What a name. Delicious Ori making his pro debut. Really didn't impress me. It really didn't. Very well schooled amateur. You can see that. He was definitely sitting on his shots early on in the fight. It was only a 4-rounder. That guy lasted 25 seconds with Matty Harris a couple of years ago, and he went the distance with Delicious Ori. He did appear to get stunned early on in the first round, but with the exception of that, he never really appeared to be in any noticeable trouble as the fight progressed. So I would say there is it's only his pro debut, I get it, and you can improve. He's with Grant Smith, who's an excellent trainer in my opinion, but Delicious Ori, he didn't. As an amateur, I looked at people like Moses Atelma, obviously when he turned pro, and I was like, they're prioritising the likes of Ori over people like Atelma when Atelma's ceiling looks way higher and he's a way younger age. Not that Delicious Ori is old, but I don't know. I can see him being, I think Hatman said in the Element Group, he sees him as another Tony Yoka. Just a very decently schooled boxer, but with nothing special, no great power, no anything. And you got to bear in mind, he was talking about joining the WWE. So I mean, I think, what was that guy's name? The other fighter from London 2012, Ogogo, Anthony Ogogo. I think he ended up going down into wrestling as well. He tried boxing, again, very run of the mill, didn't have great power, didn't have really great anything, and in terms of chin department, he got stopped by an absolute non-punching. That guy looked like Adonis Stevenson in there with the amount he was hurting him. And he went down the road of wrestling. That normally kind of indicates to me that they're not really looking at boxing and thinking, okay, well, how high is our ceiling here? So, wasn't too impressed with Delicious Ori. Didn't see Mark Chamberlain's fight, actually. I would have liked to have seen that, just to see what's left there. Jack Rafferty looked very devastating against Corey O'Regan. Corey O'Regan, to his credit, though, he got dropped heavily in round number 3. He actually came back and won round number 4, but was ultimately taken out in round number 5. Jack Rafferty is looking quite good. I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing with this guy, the Demolition Man, and he definitely did a demolition job. The controversial fight was the Jeamie Tkv David Adeleye fight. I will quote Ben Shalom in a minute on that one. But yeah, what can I say? Look, Jeamie Tkv was boxing very well. He was doing a lot better than I thought he would. And the referee shouted break, and David Adeleye threw a punch. Listen, right? We've seen over the last month in the UK some really poor refereeing performances. We have. Now, Paddy Donovan, when he was DQ'd against Lewis Crooker, right? I get it. I get that he threw after the bell. I get that. But the position of Marcus McDonald was all wrong, especially when you have a fighter who's hurt and you should be looking in and, ready to jump in. He didn't do that. The referee shouted break and a punch was thrown, and then you still administer the count. This isn't good enough. This is just not good enough, in my opinion, and the board need to be having a look at this. They really do. And I think there are probably other instances as well, but this to me is just not good enough from the board. And listen, I know some people are going to say protect yourself at all times. Well, I'm sorry. And I picked Adeleye to win this fight. So it's not like I'm protecting my prediction or anything like that. No. My prediction was Adeleye to win by knockout. That's what happened. But I take issue with the means of how we did it. And I think that was a big mistake from the referee, a massive mistake. So we'll wait and see what will happen there. In terms of the main event, Joe Joyce, Filip Perkovic, I did a post-fight review on it. I'll touch on it again. Joe Joyce, legs didn't look right. In terms of offense-wise, he didn't look too bad. But legs, they didn't seem to be under him. And I personally think Joe Joyce should call it a day. I listened to him in a post-fight interview with Oscar on the Stomping Ground. And he doesn't sound that bad to me. But it is uncomfortable viewing seeing a fighter get hit with big shots, especially a heavyweight, as frequently as Joe Joyce does. So it's far be it from me to tell him what he should do, but I think if I was in his team, I'd be saying, do we really need to stick around? Is there anything else that we can do? Maybe punditry or something like that. You see, I'm sure Frank would. I know Joyce is not the most kind of charismatic on the mic or anything like that, but I'm sure Frank would do something. God forbid, we've seen worse people across platforms throughout the years on the mic. Lennox Lewis loved Lennox Lewis as a fighter, loved him, terrible commentator. He's still knocking around on commentary, so maybe that's something for Joe Joyce. In terms of some of the other news that's going around, and there is much, Ben Shalom was absolutely furious. He says, what I just witnessed was one of the most disgraceful things I've seen in my career. Well, look, he would say that. He is obviously the promoter of Jeamie Tkv. He doesn't have a good record against Frank Warren at all. At all. But I have to say, I very seldom side with Ben Shalom. Very seldom, if ever. Very hard to side with him most of the time. But I can see his frustration on this one. And yeah, I think the board will need to have a long, hard look at what's going on. They'll need to review some of the refereeing decisions, because some of it has just been just laughable. It really, truly has. Bit of bad news. Jeamie Tkv has to postpone his next fight due to an injury. He was meant to take on Claudio Tszyu. I think it's Tszyu. I think it's how you say that guy's name. It's been postponed. It will not take place on May 30th. Looking forward to that fight. Just Jeamie Tkv. Due to an injury. The fight is now set. It's not a big injury. It's now set for June the 8th. So postponed, moved a month ahead. Nothing to really worry about there. So all should be good. We did get the big announcement that Fabio Wardley will take on Jarrell Big Farmer Miller in a 12-round fight at Portman Road. This will be for the WBA interim heavyweight title. Now, I spoke about this already. I think it's a brilliant fight. I'm very happy that we're getting a big stadium fight in Portman Road in Ipswich Town. I think that Jarrell Miller will sell any fight. I think that Fabio Wardley has been brilliant for the heavyweight division in Britain. He really has. He brings a lot of eyes onto the sport from those Ipswich Town fans, and he's going from strength to strength. I've been critical of him in the past, not as a person. I think actually Fabio Wardley as a person, he's someone I would get on very well with. I quite like him. He seems like a really cool guy. But it's very difficult, and I'd be the first person to tell you that you don't need an extensive amateur career to be a good fighter. But it's just so difficult to get out the vision of a white-collar guy out of your head coming and doing what he's done. It's been crazy. But full credit to him. God, in one sense, I'm kind of glad he didn't go down the amateur road, because they drummed the amateur style into you, whereas Wardley, he's got a real pro style. That's great to see. He's working very well and improving every day. Every time I see him, he looks better. So this is a great fight. I think that Miller is dangerous, very dangerous. Takes a good shot. He's very basic. We know what we're going to get with him. He's going to come forward. He's going to pressure you. He's not really the biggest one-punch puncher, but he's going to hit you. He's going to wear you down, and he's going to set a pace. He's going to basically try to take you into deep waters and drown you. All right? Maybe he'll drown himself. Who knows? Wardley it's going to be interesting because he's going to be in there with someone who may be able to take his power, certainly early on. How will he react to that? How will he pace himself over the 12-round duration? It's a very interesting fight. It's a very, very interesting fight. A lot of people are not best pleased given the fact that Miller, we already know about the failed PED test in the past. We know all too well about that. But the fact that he's now jumped other people in the rankings to get a crack at the interim title, if he wins, he's then mandatory. People like Michael Hunter there, Kubrat Pulev, who was the regular champion, a lot of people are asking why didn't they just get him? And we've seen some people speculate that maybe it was pricing, maybe he was costing too much money. Hard to say, but I think this is a better fight in terms of it's a more fun fight. But it could very well be, and I think it is. It's a much more dangerous fight for Fabio Wardley. They had a face-to-face in the ring. I'm excited for this fight. I'm really looking forward to it. June the 7th. So a big weekend, actually. We'll have Adeleye in New York on the Sunday. So it's going to be fun times. In terms of Dillian Whyte. So Dillian Whyte was there. He was there ringside. He was interviewed by Ade on DAZN. And he was talking about coming back in the month of June. Now, I didn't touch too much on Hughie Fury in my review of the GBM show for the simple reason I'm thinking they might be fighting. Again, I don't know with this one, right? I don't know what GBM are doing or anything going on there, but this is just me purely speculating. I did know about the Miller versus Wardley fight, days ago, long before they announced it. So, but I don't have any privy insight into this. This is just me purely speculating. They were talking about getting Hughie Fury out the end of June. Is he as if was, and Dillian Whyte was saying he'll be back sometime in June. You think of what I'm thinking? I think that'd be an excellent fight for Hughie Fury to look good against, because God knows he hasn't been looking good as of late. And Dillian Whyte, Dillian Whyte at his best, I'd take him over Hughie Fury. I don't think I can't see it. I can't see Dillian Whyte doing much against anyone right now, even a top 30 heavyweight, and I would put Hughie Fury in that category at this stage. I think he'd lose, but, could prove me wrong. Hughie Fury, as I said, he hasn't set the world alight. He's looked old his last couple of fights. He's only 30 years old, but he's looked old, even in terms of the movement. Do you remember the movement Hughie Fury used to have, just moving around the ring? Even that doesn't seem like it's there anymore. So, yeah, I would say probably both guys, maybe, and it's crazy because Fury is young for heavyweight, maybe have seen better days, but Dillian Whyte certainly. So, I would love to see that fight. If that's the fight we're going to get next, I think that's going to be a fun scrap. And if they do it in Galway, even better. Even flipping better. What else do we have here? Daniel Dubois told Ring Magazine he wants the Alexander Usyk rematch in Wembley Stadium in July. A big fight against Usyk. That's what I want. The fight Usyk at Wembley Stadium would be like the AJ fight, but way bigger. The biggest fight in the world. I'm not going to go and say it's necessarily the biggest fight in the world, but it's certainly a massive fight. I would prefer Joseph Parker get the nod, to be honest, which I think he deserves it. And I love Alexander Usyk. I think his run of heavyweight has massively exceeded my expectations. I thought he'd have a good run, but I never thought anything like this. He could be two-time undisputed heavyweight champion. I'm just a bit... It's the rematches. Since 2021, it's been Joshua twice, Fury twice, and now it's going to be Dubois twice. That's just a little... it's a bit much. It is a bit much, but the fight itself, if we do get Dubois versus Usyk too, which I have seen that Alexander Usyk has been back in the gym, at least the Ring Magazine have been insinuating that. So I think there's a lot to potentially, look forward to with this. I think that we are going to get this. I think Usyk is looking... Some people were saying he didn't look in the best of shape in some of the pictures they've seen. If the recent gym pic is recent, he looks fine. So I think that Usyk versus Dubois too... It's a more competitive fight this time around than it was the first time, I think. But I'm still going to make Alexander Usyk the favourite. In my opinion, he wins this fight. I really do think that. The Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn pay-per-view has been revealed. The price will be in the US, $25 in the UK, $24.99. In the UK for us, £21.99. That is, again, A lot cheaper than some of the pay-per-views we've had over the last couple of years. In all fairness, it absolutely is. Ring Magazine's first show, I've done a little preview, wink wink, of this fight, so stay tuned for that. Won't be going on here, but stay tuned. I'll definitely post it in the community tab when you see it. But the more I'm getting into this fight, the more we're getting to it. The antics of Chris Eubank Jr., the more I'm liking it. I did a little preview of the undercard, and yeah, I think we're gonna have a fun night on April 26th. I really do. I think it's going to be a fun night. What else do we have? Oh yes, the last Crescendo generated 340,000 pay-per-view buys. Now again, I've already done a video on this, but I think that is actually pretty damn good. I think that's actually pretty damn good, considering the last Crescendo was a massive occasion. It had brilliant fights on it. It had, big fight after big fight, but no real big names. The fact it was able to pull those pay-per-view numbers, to me, is very impressive. 340 is a success, in my opinion. Let's have a quick look-see on boxing scene before we finish up. Joe Joyce rejects retirement talk. I've still got my wits about me. All right, I'm not gonna say any more on that one. Shakur Stevenson still wants Williams to pay it, but won't bow down. No, should he? He's the champion. Abel Sanchez has seen changes in Joe Joyce, the man he used to train. Not much else. There's not an awful lot else. So I don't know how long I've been going on for. But let's wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. I'm back in London this week. And yeah, a lot to look forward to. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. Until next time. Peace.